In our journey through life, pain happens. We can't avoid it. Whether that be physical or emotional pain, we will all hit bumps in the road that will knock us off kilter. But what if I told you that the real challenge lies not in the pain itself, but in how we try to control our response to the pain? Stay tuned to uncover why our attempts at control might be causing more suffering than relief. Any experience, whether it is the end of a cherished relationship, coping with loss, financial struggles, or interpersonal conflicts, will all bring pain. Pain is a natural response to the adversity. However, for many people, the pain of a challenging event can morph into suffering as they struggle with thoughts, emotions, and behaviours around the primary event. Whilst we cannot avoid pain, you might be wondering how we can help people mitigate some of their suffering. So hey, I'm Dan and I run Anxious to Zen-ish. I've been through this journey myself and made it my mission to help people manage their mental health more effectively. With years of experience and a genuine passion for making a difference, I'm here to guide you. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive into the heart of the matter: pain and the illusion of control. In our journey through life, pain is an inevitable companion. The world presents us with many experiences that can cause emotional and physical pain. These experiences may present themselves through a relationship breakup, loss of a loved one, or even financial struggles. Pain manifests itself in various forms: fear, hurt, anger, shame, and sadness. Pain is a natural response to life's adversities. It is the initial emotional and physical reaction we have when faced with a distressing event. Suffering, however, emerges when we attempt to control or evade pain. It encompasses anxiety, depression, addiction, trauma, and chronic stress that develop when we engage in behaviours aimed at suppressing or escaping pain. The distinction lies in that pain is clean while suffering is dirty. Pain cannot be avoided, but to a large extent, suffering can. Suffering is anxiety, suffering is depression, suffering is addiction or trauma or chronic stress. Pain always precedes suffering, and most days something happens that causes pain, whether physical or emotional. Suffering occurs when you try to control pain in some way, usually by attempting to avoid it or make it disappear. As humans, we employ various strategies, consciously or unconsciously, to manage or eliminate discomfort. There are numerous ways that people try to control their pain, but here's a list of the main ones. Putting on a facade, pretending to be happy and confident when feeling sad and anxious, especially in social situations, to avoid judgment or pity from others. Keeping busy, overloading your schedule with tasks and activities to distract from emotional pain or intrusive thoughts, such as overloading your work week to avoid dealing with a recent breakup. Drinking, using alcohol to temporarily numb emotional pain or anxiety, like having a few drinks after a stressful day to relax and feel more in control of your emotions. Binge watching, watching box sets of TV programs to distract from being alone with thoughts and emotions. There are many others, but you get the point. Many people may look at this list and say, for example, I drink, but I don't suffer, and that is entirely valid. Ultimately, when any of these methods are used to control pain through avoidance or gain relief, then suffering is more likely to occur in the long run. More suffering leads to more attempts at control, resulting in even more suffering. Control isn't inherently negative, but it does depend on the intention and effectiveness of the control attempt. Take, for instance, the best man nervous about delivering a speech at a wedding. He may well attempt control by having a pint of beer to take the edge off. Now, giving a speech, especially at a close friend's wedding, can be nerve-wracking for many people. In my opinion, reaching for that 1 pint of Dutch courage is a pretty reasonable move. However, another best man at a different wedding might choose to consume a substantial amount of alcohol before his speech, leading to slurred words and eventual sickness. In both situations, there is an effort to exert control using the same means, alcohol, but one proves effective and workable, as we call it in ACT, while the other not so much. In much the same way, many people find exercise to be an important part of their overall well-being, and I do too. However, when exercise is used to provide relief from or to control thoughts and feelings, then that is an unworkable long-term strategy. Attempts at control over our uncomfortable thoughts and feelings are simply a cue to the subconscious brain that there is something to fear. When we encounter pain or distress, our brain automatically processes this information and creates a mental frame around the experience. Our reaction to the experience in terms of how we think about it will either reinforce the frame or undermine it. The human brain is great at abstract thinking and is negatively biased. This means that as we learn through our lives, we create connections, often based around experiences we perceive as negative. So, a relationship breakup could lead to thoughts of, I'm unlovable and will be alone forever. This person may avoid other possible relationships so that the same thing cannot happen in the future. This is a form of control, but is it a good long-term strategy? Probably not. You cannot have love without the possibility of hurt and pain. Thoughts of being unlovable are a strategy of avoidance of pain. The overwhelming need for control, driven by the subconscious desire to avoid pain and uncertainty, paradoxically leads to greater suffering. This can hinder personal growth, professional success, and meaningful connections with others, causing people to shrink their lives into smaller and smaller spaces to avoid the discomfort. Fortunately, there is a solution to these patterns of control that lead to suffering. It's often deceptive how much individuals believe they control their lives and emotions, only to realize that their perceived control is an illusion, and it only takes one small bump in the road of life or change in personal circumstances to unmask that lack of control. Functional skills development, like those practiced in acceptance and commitment training, can be transformative. ACT majors in the cultivation of psychological flexibility. Like filling up a car with fuel or electricity more often these days, psychological flexibility is not something that you do once and that's it. It needs to be topped up. Having psychological flexibility means awareness of how you're thinking, feeling, and behaving in any given moment so that you can intervene and change direction. Often that intervention is recognition that you cannot change the circumstances and allowing yourself to acknowledge the challenge and relinquish some control. A fairly common example is, have I locked the front door? Some people will go back and check the front door several times before they finally leave home. And others, whilst they are out, may get the thought, I must go back and check. But why is that? Well, leaving the home unlocked represents a threat, even though the likelihood of the door actually being unlocked and the house being burgled because of it remains remote. It is here, at this junction, where there is a choice. Either give in to the fear and try to control the situation, or relinquish some control and accept the remote possibility that there may be consequences. By engaging in control, we are simply sending a signal that this is a threat that we must pay attention to, so we will inevitably get more of it in the future, a vicious circle. By relinquishing some control and not engaging in the behaviour, we are sending a signal that this is less of a threat, so we will get less of it in the future, a virtuous circle. However, this is not always easy. If it was, nobody would have these challenges. In a later video, I will discuss cognitive diffusion and willing acceptance, which are weapons in our armoury against applying rigid control in our lives. Using these tools, when you do hit a bump in the road of life and are able to recognise how you think and behave in response, you give yourself the opportunity to do something different, rather than walk down the well-worn path. This change in behaviour is likely to lead to personal growth and development, and it doesn't matter at what age you start. In a nutshell, learning and applying ACT skills to life can help individuals recognise that true control often involves letting go, accepting uncertainty, and embracing vulnerability. This realisation can be the first step towards breaking free of the illusion of control and finding a more balanced and fulfilling path forward. Acceptance and commitment training, or ACT, emphasises cultivating awareness to notice when the control agenda is in play, and how, through openness, it is possible to accept and diffuse from the thoughts and emotions that try to drive controlling behaviour. Over time, people regain control over their lives by living in line with what's important to them rather than being held back by control. As we navigate the complexities of pain and suffering, remember that control can be a comforting ally, but in the long run can also become a deceptive enemy. I'd like to thank you all for sticking with me to the end of this video. If you have any questions you would like to ask, please feel free to leave them in the comments. For now, thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you.